Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS and welcome to this lecture. मेरा नाम लावण्या है and today we are going to talk about Vehicle Scrappage Policy. Now please understand why we are talking about this. देखो life में, especially in a country like India, everyone wants to buy a car at one point of time, especially if you are from a middle class background or lower middle class background or from a poor background. Buying a car is one of the biggest dreams that a middle class person has, है ना? Primarily because of this reason, हमारे देश में every day more than 1500 vehicles are sold. I'm not saying manufactured, sold. अब 1500 सुनने में बहुत छोटा नंबर लग रहा है, but I'm talking about 1500, more than 1500 vehicles per day are being sold. That means कोई भी vehicle, अगर मैं 4-wheeler की बात करूं, no vehicle comes for less than let's say 3 to 4 lakhs. मतलब मिनिमम टू मिनिमम भी आप जाएंगे, अगर नए व्हीकल की मैं बात कर रही हूँ 3 से 4 लाख. एक टाइम पे नैनो रिलीज हुई थी, नैनो इज नॉट रनिंग एनी मोर, बट 3 से 4 लाख से कम में तो कोई गाड़ी नहीं मिलेगी. दैट मीन्स it's a pretty good amount. However, the problem is that when we buy these vehicles, first of all, the running of these vehicles is very low. तो mostly क्या होता है कि जो भी हमारे vehicles हैं, and if I talk about the upper middle class families, if there are 3 people in the family, that's mother, father and child. So the mother and the father and the child might be more than 18 years old. All 3 people will have their separate vehicles. And not necessarily those vehicles will be used on a daily basis. So what happens is, whenever a vehicle comes into the common usage, when it comes on the roads or when it comes out of the showroom, it starts adding pollution. As long as it is there in the showroom, there was pollution while manufacturing the vehicle, yes, but it is not creating recurrent pollution. But as soon as the vehicle is sold, it adds pollution. ये एक चीज हुई. The second thing is, as the vehicle keeps getting older, जैसे जैसे एक vehicle जो है पुराना होता रहता है, the amount of pollution that it creates keeps on increasing. है ना? जैसे आपको पोल्यूशन चेक कराना होता है अपने व्हीकल का. As your vehicle progresses to be an older vehicle, you have to get the pollution checked more number of times in a year, maybe even thrice a year, because your vehicle will start emitting more and more fumes, more and more pollution. Which is precisely why the Vehicle Scrappage Policy has been introduced. It has twofold reasons, and it is a topic of your GS3. And within this topic, I want to tell you कि it has twofold reasons. One reason environmental है. पहला जो reason है, वो environmental reason है. That more pollution is done by the older cars. So the older cars shall be scrapped. है ना? And the newer cars will come in. The second reason is economic. India being a developing country and not a large amount of population having cars on them, whenever a family buys a car, it runs for at least 10 years, on an average 10 to 15 years. और जितनी लंबी लंबी गाड़ी खींच पाए वो खींचती हैं, है ना? So ये जो चीज है, this ends up hampering overall the 4-wheeler ecosystem also, because the same cars कल को सेल होगी तो वो भी सेकेंड हैंड व्हीकल के रूप में सेल हो जाएगी आगे. तो people don't go for the fresh cars, and that is why there are economic losses. The industry does not prosper as much as it should prosper. तो पुरानी कार सर्कुलेट होती जा रही है और नई गाड़ियां बिक नहीं रही हैं, है ना? And that is why the vehicle scrappage policy, environmental and economic reason. So this is the primary reason. अब हुआ ये है कि there is a saying, you know, charity begins at home. Charity begins at home. There is also a saying which says, not a saying, but it's a general principle that practice what you preach. है ना, जो बोल रहे हो वो करो. अगर सरकार ने व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी बनाई है, अगर क्या बनाई ही है, the government has to be the first agency to actually scrap its previous vehicles. है ना, ऐसे नहीं हो सकता कि सरकार पुराने पुरानी एम्बेसडर्स जो चली आ रही हैं सालों सालों से उनको लेकर के चलती रहे, आगे चलती रहे, एंड एट द सेम टाइम इट इज प्रीचिंग कि नो नो प्लीज स्क्रैप योर ओल्डर व्हीकल्स. नो. So what has effectively happened is that all government vehicles which are older than 15 years, they are being deregistered and then scrapped. Deregistered yani they cannot ply on the roads anymore, and then scrapped. Scrapped का मतलब ये the metals shall be removed and the utility. and cars में ये एक बहुत अच्छी चीज होती है that more than 90% of the material that goes into creating a car can be reused some way or the other. ठीक है, maybe the plastic component cannot be reused, but overall more than 90% because it's largely metal, right? So metal you can melt and use again. So the government has started with this, and now this shall be applicable to the commercial as well as the personal vehicles. Commercial vehicles of age more than 15 years shall be scrapped, and the personal vehicles, the personal vehicles of more than 20 years shall be scrapped. अब ये 15 और 20 साल का रीजनिंग क्या है, सोच के देखो क्या रीजन हो सकता है इसका. इसका रीजन प्राइमरीली ये है कि जो कमर्शियल व्हीकल्स होते हैं दे प्लाई मोर, दे मूव मोर, एंड मोस्टली दे आर डीजल. ठीक है, एक तो ये चलते ज्यादा है कमर्शियल व्हीकल्स, है ना, कैब ले लीजिए कुछ भी, और दूसरी बात ये डीजल होते हैं मोस्टली, सो दे एंड अप बीइंग मोर पोल्यूटिंग. ये जो पर्सनल व्हीकल्स होते हैं दे मूव लेसर, मोस्टली दे आर पेट्रोल बेस्ड, एंड दैट्स व्हाई 20 years, 5 years more for the personal one. तो ये है ना. अब ये जो व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी है इसके कुछ सेलिएंट फीचर्स हैं, उसके बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे. बिफोर दैट लेट मी टेल यू where this topic can come up. There is very rare chance, very rare chance that a separate question will come up, of a separate question. Very rare chance of a separate question on vehicle scrappage policy. Because UPSC का point of view समझो ना, UPSC every question that is there in your mains question paper needs to assess you on some parameters. So if they give even a 10 marker on the vehicle scrappage policy, that means they are foregoing the chance of assessing you on a broader issue, on an issue where you actually have to apply your brains. Vehicle scrappage policy में क्या है, आप बताओगे कि ये चीजें हैं, ये चीजें issues हैं, ये way forward है, खत्म. There's no brain application as such, है ना. तो separate question आने का बहुत कम chance है, but whenever a question is asked on policy measures for environmental protection, policy measures on environmental protection, vehicle scrappage policy has to be there. ठीक है, सरकार ने क्या क्या किया है to impact and protect the environment, है ना, vehicle scrappage policy वहां पर आनी चाहिए. So GS3 में, and again दूसरी चीज, सरकार ने इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी को रिवाइव करने के लिए क्या क्या किया है. If by any chance the transportation sector question is asked, a question on transportation sector is asked, you use this कि vehicle scrappage policy लाई गई है so that the mobility, the circulation time of the vehicles increases manifold. ठीक है, तो GS3 में ही इसका सवाल आएगा डेफिनेटली, बट GS3 में दो सेक्शंस में से एक में पूछा जा सकता है, पूछा नहीं जाएगा मतलब इसको आप यूज कर सकते हैं दो में से एक सेक्शन में जब सवाल आए. वन इज environmental change mitigation policy for that, and the second is economic growth. ठीक है, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सेक्टर. इन दो में आप व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी को एज एन एग्जांपल यूज करें. फाइन, दैट्स द यूटिलिटी. एंड ऑफ कोर्स इन प्रीलिम्स यू कैन बी आस्क्ड. So there are some salient features of this policy. First of all, every vehicle that passes that certain threshold will have to go fitness tests. Fitness tests means, is it viable to keep that vehicle on the roads? And how will you test it? You will take the pollution test, you will take various tests. So wo fitness test hota hai. And in fact, this fitness test labs that will be created, they will generate a lot of employment. And that is why this is something that will positively impact the employment of India as well. But employment के question में मत लिखना, बहुत far fetched हो जाएगा. ठीक है जी, that is there. Then गवर्नमेंट व्हीकल्स का तो स्टैंडर्ड है कि 15 साल होते ही दे विल बी डी रजिस्टर्ड, है ना. तो ये बहुत क्लियर हो गया. नाउ ये जो पॉलिसी है, ऑफ कोर्स in a country of 1.4 billion people, you need time to spread the message that this kind of policy is there. And you know, cars are a very emotional aspect, है ना. कार एक मिडिल क्लास इंसान बहुत मुश्किल से लेता है. So deregistering the car, making the car go away from you because of a policy is very difficult. And that is why this decision is first being taken from the side of the government. The government is first scrapping its vehicles and encouraging the rest of the people to come forward, be it commercial, be it passenger. ठीक है. Then incentives for scrapping the policy have been introduced. So again, this is something where government is intervening in your personal space. You have taken a car and government is saying, okay, your car is 20 years old, now scrap it. Maybe you're very attached to the car, maybe you don't want to give it away, right? Maybe you don't want to make it go into scrap. So center has advised the states, and that is the real problem, that it is an advisory. ठीक है, एडवाइजरी की कोई वैल्यू नहीं होती है, कोई महत्व नहीं होता है एडवाइजरी का. फाइन. सो सेंटर हैज एडवाइज द स्टेट्स कि भाई अच्छा ठीक है, तुम कुछ रिबेट दे दो रोड टैक्स में अगर व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज पॉलिसी. सो एज एन व्हेन यू गेट योर व्हीकल स्क्रैप्ड, यू गेट अ स्क्रैपिंग सर्टिफिकेट. ठीक है, यू गेट अ स्क्रैपिंग सर्टिफिकेट. अगर वो सर्टिफिकेट आप ले आते हैं सामने, तो आपका जो अगला व्हीकल है उस पे जो रोड टैक्स है उस पे सेंटर ने बोला है कि यू गिव अ रिबेट ऑफ अबाउट 25%, 1/4 रिबेट दे दो, इट्स फाइन ओनली, है ना. देन ये एक इंसेंटिव बोला गया है. फिर रजिस्ट्रेशन फी को खत्म कर दो. जो लोग स्क्रैपेज सर्टिफिकेट दिखा दें उनकी रजिस्ट्रेशन फी मत लो, ये सजेशन दिया गया है. तो इंसेंटिव्स है, बट अगेन इट्स ऑल एडवाइजरी, इट्स ऑल इंसेंटिव, इट्स ऑल रिकमेंडेशन. तो उसका ज्यादा वैल्यू नहीं है. इनफैक्ट जब हम इश्यूज की बात करेंगे तो यही बोलेंगे कि स्टेट्स के पास बहुत ज्यादा आई से डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर है जिसकी जरूरत नहीं थी, है ना. देन ओवरऑल जो भी व्हीकल्स हैं जो कि अपने व्हीकल जो भी व्हीकल्स हैं जो स्क्रैप नहीं किए जा रहे, जो भी ओनर्स हैं जो अपने व्हीकल्स को स्क्रैप नहीं कर रहे हैं, उन पे ग्रीन टैक्स लगाया जाए, है ना, एडिशनल टैक्स लगाया जाए, सो दैट दे कैन बी डिसइंसेंटिवाइज्ड टू कीप देयर व्हीकल्स ऑन द रोड्स. एंड इनफैक्ट अगर जैसे आपका क्या होता है, पोल्यूशन सर्टिफिकेट अगर आपका नहीं होता है तो आपको फाइन देना पड़ता है, डेटरेंस बोल देते हैं इसको. तो सिमिलरली अगर आपका व्हीकल स्क्रैपेज के लायक है और आपने उसे स्क्रैप नहीं करवाया है तो आप पर फाइन लगे, आप पर ग्रीन टैक्स लगे, ये सारी चीजें दी गई हैं. तो पेनल्टीज के थ्रू यू कैन इंश्योर दिस. नाउ व्हाट इज द नीड ऑफ सच अ पॉलिसी? जब आप आंसर लिखेंगे आई एम अज्यूमिंग एंड आई एम टेलिंग यू कि सेपरेट क्वेश्चन नहीं आना इस पे, बट देन एज अ रिस्पॉन्सिबल यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि भाई क्या रेलेवेंस है इसका, है ना। तो नीड क्या है इस पॉलिसी का? नीड ये है कि हमारी जो रोड मोबिलिटी है दैट शुड बी क्लीन मोबिलिटी, है ना। रोड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इज वेरी पोल्यूटिंग इन इट्स नेचर, and although we are going towards EVs, but even the electricity generation is quite polluting, is a polluting industry. ठीक, अगर हम EVs भी यूज कर रहे हैं तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कहाँ से आ रही है? इलेक्ट्रिसिटी हमारी कोल बेस्ड है, ठीक है ना। सोलर व्हीकल्स तक हम पहुंचे नहीं है, सो दैट इज द थिंग, फाइन। देन ये एक चीज हो जाएगी, हमारी क्लीन मोबिलिटी आनी शुरू हो जाएगी। ऑयल इंपोर्ट का जो अमाउंट है वो कम हो जाएगा। कैसे? बिकॉज ओल्डर व्हीकल्स यूज मोर ऑयल, ठीक है, वो तेल ज्यादा खाते हैं, तेल ज्यादा पीते हैं, जैसे कहते हैं ना पुरानी गाड़ी होती है ज्यादा तेल पीती है। सो ऑयल इंपोर्ट्स हमारे कम होंगे इफ न्यूअर व्हीकल्स आर प्लाइंग ऑन द रोड्स। रोड सेफ्टी बढ़ेगी। अब देखो पुरानी कार्स में, इन द ओल्ड कार्स देयर वाज नो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एयरबैग। The concept of airbags came much later, है ना, quite recently in the past 1 decade it came. In the older cars it was not there, even the most high-end cars it was not there. So as and when the models of cars keep on upgrading, the kind of safety features that they offer also get upgraded, and as the safety features get upgraded, the roads get safer and there will be lesser chances of accident. So I'll give you an example. The newer cars, and this has become a very common feature. In the cars, if you exceed the speed of 80 km per hour, your car starts beeping. Fine. So your car beeps as soon as you exceed the speed of 80 kmph. After 80, if you are not stopping, and if you exceed 120 kmph, your car keeps on beeping. Your car will keep on beeping, and you will get annoyed with that noise. You will slow down कि चलो ठीक है, बार बार हम नहीं सुन सकते हैं, so let's just keep slowing down. This will keep you down, है ना। अभी जो रोल्स रॉयस वाला एक्सीडेंट हुआ था, which horrendous accident, the Rolls Royce and the truck, they collided, and the Rolls Royce was at 220 km per hour speed. ये कोई speed है चलाने की? Is this a speed on which people should be driving? Although it was said that they were testing, or they were, you know, just on a test drive or something or whatever, still this is not a speed to do a test also. So as new cars come, they will stop you from speeding up, from being an irrational driver, a rash driver, and road safety will increase. Fine. Congestion will reduce. Why? See, the thing is, maintaining a car is not very easy. Okay. You need to fight for the parking, you need to fight for the, you need to pay for insurance, you need to pay for various things. Okay. Now let's say a family had 3 cars earlier. 3 cars earlier. One of the cars has been scrapped. They'll say कि यार हम 2 से भी काम चला सकते हैं, because you know तीसरी के लिए पार्किंग नहीं मिलती थी, और ये है वो है, various issues are there. Let's not buy a 3rd car. So रोड से एक गाड़ी कम हो गई. Is it? Isn't it right? रोड से एक गाड़ी कम हो गई, because ultimately, you know, as an economy keeps on developing, the ultimate goal is to reduce the personal vehicles and to improve the public transportation system. In the most developed countries, the public transportation is not something that is used as a matter of last resort. It is used as a matter of daily habit. है ना? अभी क्या है कि अगर हमें बजट अलाउ करे तो हम सभी गाड़ी यूज करेंगे, है ना? All of us will use cars. It's not the same in the West, in the developed countries. ठीक है, तो जैसे जैसे स्क्रैप होते जाएंगे व्हीकल्स, वैसे वैसे कंजेशन भी कम होता जाएगा, which will be good for the roads. then it's a logical extension of the National Green Tribunal rule. So for example, now that winter is coming in the subcontinent, you will see that there's a lot of pollution again. But National Green Tribunal had said that because Delhi NCR में excessive pollution है, so 10 ईयर या उससे पुरानी 10 साल से पुरानी जो डीजल गाड़ियां हैं और 15 साल या उससे पुरानी जो पेट्रोल गाड़ियां हैं, दे विल नॉट प्लाई ऑन दिल्ली रोड्स, दे आर नॉट अलाउड ऑन दिल्ली रोड्स. सो व्हेन दे आर नॉट अलाउड ऑन दिल्ली रोड्स, व्हाट विल दे डू, है ना. एंड दिल्ली इज वन ऑफ दोज एरियाज जहां पे सबसे इंटेंसली, सबसे डेंस पॉपुलेशन ऑफ व्हीकल्स है, फोर व्हीलर्स है. So when you're not using them, you better get them scrapped, and you'll get some incentives also for your next car, है ना. That's there. Consumer benefits in the form of incentives, etc. And of course, emission control, which is the primary purpose of vehicle scrappage policy. Fine. This is again the significance of the vehicle scrappage policy. Similar things. But और मैं यहाँ पे I just want to mention, this is not something that India has done as the first country to be doing so. No. Our best friend China has done that. Our okay friend USA has done that. Our technological friend, technology heavy friend Germany has of course done that. Then our newly, very freshly revived friend Canada has done that. So all developed countries, all forward-looking countries do this, that they will not prefer old vehicles being collected on the roads. That's not something that they'll prefer. ठीक है? What is the significance? Economically, we'll have a good automobile sector. Fuel efficiency will improve. Spare parts के जो prices हैं, they will fall because the older a car gets, their spare parts also start becoming antique, है ना. तो spare parts के भी prices जो हैं वो कम हो जाएंगे. Vehicle price control भी हो जाएगा. See, because the thing is कि right now, no matter what anyone says, a car is a luxury good. No matter which car it is, it's a luxury good. Very few people, handful of people, overall handful of people in the sense कि percentage of population wise, handful of people have the four-wheeler. When it becomes a common commodity, like the two-wheeler is a common commodity, the prices will also come down because कंपटीशन विल किक इन. अब जैसे नैनो टाटा ने निकाल दी थी, क्या पता कल को कोई और कंपनी जो है ऐसी अफोर्डेबल कार निकाल दे विद बेटर फीचर्स एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. ठीक है, तो कंज्यूमर्स के लिए भी बेटर हो जाता है. एक पॉइंट जो होना चाहिए आपके आंसर में, दैट इज इट विल एड आवर सर्क्यूलर इकोनॉमी, बिकॉज नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू the concept of zero defect, zero effect, and the concept of circular economy. That means whatever is created in our economy has to be reused, has to be recycled. There is no waste generated. So circular economy, and cars, as I told you, is are one such commodity जिसमें काफी recycling हो जाती है, right? It's more than 90% of the parts can be recycled. So that way. And of course, steel sector boost hoga apna, not just the steel mining sector. Because I told you na ki circular economy hoga, to the reusing sector, the refurbished steel sector, which is a much bigger sector than the mining, will also get a huge boost. Then post COVID recovery होगी, इंडिया के international commitments, that's intended nationally determined contribution, INDCs, वो अचीव करने में हमें हेल्प मिलेगी. देन सिटीजन्स के लिए, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि जो फिटनेस टेस्ट सेंटर्स होंगे जहां पे व्हीकल्स की फिटनेस को टेस्ट किया जाएगा, वहां पर लोग तो एम्प्लॉय होंगे ना, so employment will be created. Safer vehicles would be there. There would be monetary benefit also. Road tax में कमी आ गई and all that. Paris climate goals हम achieve कर सकते हैं, pollution कम होगा, and EVs में transition जो है वो जल्दी होगा. You know, एक साइकोलॉजी यही होती है कि चलो अब नया व्हीकल ले ही रहे हैं तो पेट्रोल क्या लेना, अब तो ईवीज आ गए हैं, दिस एंड दैट. So that will be there. But of course, like every policy, there are some substantial issues. Before reading any of these issues, I want you to know that I was talking about the West, right? I was giving you the example of the West. कि किस तरीके से West में cars usage बहुत कम है, etc. The second-hand car market, the used car market, is also very vibrant in the West. ठीक है, it's very vibrant. वहां पे it's a matter of practicality, not a matter of shame that you have a second-hand vehicle. Okay. इंडिया में ऐसा नहीं है. इंडिया में you push your limits and try to have a new vehicle. Maybe that new vehicle would be off budget for you. Maybe you might, not even need that much, but you go for a newer vehicle. So जब vehicle scrappage policy आ गई है, यानी 15 साल से पुराने vehicles अब काम के ही नहीं है ना? So if a person is selling the vehicle at 10 years of age, only 5 years of age is left for that vehicle, it's difficult that a buyer would be available for that. ठीक है? That is there. Scrappage infrastructure की कमी है अपने पास. Deregistering of vehicles, and this I can tell you from my personal experience, कि after you have sold a vehicle, the transfer of the RC, the transfer of ownership, it's a nightmare. ठीक है? So someone from my family sold a vehicle recently and it has been about 2 months, more than that I think. The transfer has not happened. Now in this time period, what if something happens with the vehicle? And leave all of it apart. Why would anyone want to go through such a hassle? पड़ी है घर पे गाड़ी, पड़ी रहे, बाहर ही तो खड़ी है, क्या हो गया? That kind of attitude shall develop. तो स्क्रैपिंग कैपेसिटी भी अपनी कम है. इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स के साथ रिप्लेसमेंट होगा या नहीं होगा इसका कोई है नहीं, बिकॉज अभी भी पेट्रोल व्हीकल्स की जो सेल है वो कई ज्यादा है, राइट? देन ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में हैम्परिंग होगी बिकॉज रिवेन्यू लॉस होगा. एज आई सेड, 3 व्हीकल्स हैं, एक को स्क्रैप कर दिया, जरूरी नहीं है कि एक और व्हीकल वो लोग लेंगे. दैट्स अ प्रॉब्लम. लॉस फॉर द ओनर and disproportionately impacts the small operators, right? The smaller operators shall be disproportionately impacted. Then administrative vehicle scrappage policy, at least in the initial phases, needs a lot of funding because the testing centers, the scrapping centers, all of this needs to be established. This is capex, this is capital expenditure, so that needs funding support. Entire onus is on the state governments, right? Because center ने advisory देके छोड़ दिया है. Onus is on the state governments. So now what will happen? What if the state governments don't comply with it? है ना, वो वाली बात हो जाती है. Advisory nature है, no initial incentivization is there. तो ये problems हैं जो face हो रही हैं vehicle scrappage policy में. And again, as I always say, कि like a good aspirant, like a forward looking aspirant, you have to end with the way forward. And way forward में सबसे बड़ा चीज है कि this vehicle scrappage policy can be a very good example of cooperative federalism. सेंटर और स्टेट साथ में मिलके काम करें और इस तरह से काम करें कि जो असली काम है, दैट इज स्क्रैपिंग ऑफ द ओल्ड व्हीकल्स, दैट इज डन इफेक्टिवली एंड कंज्यूमर्स आर मोटिवेटेड इनफ टू स्क्रैप देयर ओन व्हीकल्स, द ओल्ड वंस. देयर हैज टू बी अ बैलेंस कि कितना हमें नए व्हीकल्स को लाना है, कितना हमें कंज्यूमर्स की ऑटोनॉमी को फेवर करना है, राइट? Fuel efficiency has to be incentivized. So because vehicles are being scrapped right now, it's a very good opportunity that we push EVs very aggressively so that while people are changing their vehicles, they go for EVs directly rather than going for a petrol vehicle and then transitioning in the next time for EVs. Straight away you go to EVs, है ना? व्हीकल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शुड बी देयर. जैसे कहते हैं ना कि एक्सटेंडेड प्रोड्यूसर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. तो जब जैसे मान लो टाटा की गाड़ी है ना, Hyundai की गाड़ी, जिसकी भी गाड़ी है, once that car is out in the market and at the end of its life, the company has to be responsible where is the car and where is the scrap generated by the car, because it is a product of my company. Of course it is creating environmental impacts and I need to be responsible for that. Fine. Modern classics, जो अपनी the kind of antique cars, the classic cars, they should not be subjected to this policy because they are a part of our civilizational evolution. मान लो कोई बहुत पुरानी एम्बेसडर है, बहुत पुरानी कोई रोल्स रॉयस है, कुछ ऐसा है, तो if you scrap it and it's not even on the roads, it's just there in someone's house or maybe some museum or whatever, if you scrap it, you are actually doing away with a part of history. है ना, आप अपनी एवोल्यूशन, अपनी ह्यूमैनिटेरियन एवोल्यूशन, सोसाइटी के एवोल्यूशन को फोरगो कर रहे हो, तो वो नहीं करने की जरूरत है, राइट? दैट शुड नॉट बी डन. नाउ Siam approach. What is the Siam approach? Siam approach basically means an approach of circularity. The circular economy that I was talking about, whatever goes into the market has to come back to the producer in some manner or the other and reused. That is the Siam approach. And there are some suggestions given by CSE in the report which is titled What to Do with the Old Vehicles. तो उसमें यही है कि जैसे प्लास्टिक वेस्ट की बात है या ई वेस्ट की बात है, वैसे ही एक्सटेंडेड प्रोड्यूसर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी चाहिए यहाँ पर भी. एंड एज आई टोल्ड यू ऑलरेडी कि ईवीज में डायरेक्ट ट्रांजिशन हो, इसकी जरूरत होनी चाहिए. So with this we are at the end of this lecture. Again I'm telling you direct question आना बहुत मुश्किल है. However प्रीलिम्स के लिए भी इंपॉर्टेंट है, मेंस के लिए एनवायरमेंटल कंजर्वेशन एंड पॉलिसी मेजर्स फॉर एनवायरमेंटल कंजर्वेशन एंड इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ के लिए ये आर्टिकल और ये इशू आपका समझना इंपॉर्टेंट है. So I hope you derived some value out of this lecture. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care and thank you for watching.